Okay, so let me welcome everyone, each and every one of us, in this afternoon's event, lecture on sociocultural perspective and researching and implementation of educational theories into practice. So, to acknowledge the presence of our BPAA or BP for Academic Affairs. Good afternoon, Ma'am Anna. Good afternoon to our Dean of Grad School. Good afternoon, Ma'am. To the faculty of graduate schools. Good afternoon po, professors. And to our esteemed guest, Sir Ahmad Junaidi. I hope I pronounce it correct. So good afternoon, sir. So to officially start our event, we will play a prayer, national anthem, CBSUA hymn, and VMGO through the AVP. So please the national anthem.
Our Lord in heaven, thank you for today. Thank you for the gift of life we are receiving from you every day. For your protection and love, we thank you. Help us to focus our hearts and minds now on what we are about to do and to learn. Inspire us by your Holy Spirit as we work and our students as they learn. Guide us by your eternal light in every plan and decisions we make. We ask all this in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Tayong lahat at sabay-sabay nating awitin ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang magiliw, pero sa silanganan, alam ng puso, sa dilim mo'y buhay. Lumang hinirang, dulot na ng magiging, sa manlulupin, di ka masisingil. Sa lahat ng bulok, sa sino at sa langit mong babang, may ginagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang isang ng patawad mo'y tagumpay na naglilingin. Tuwing nag-araw ng kailan pa may madilim. Lupa ng araw ng 100%
Okay, so you may take your seats now. Good afternoon again, everyone, and let me acknowledge the presence of the Dean of the College of Agriculture and Natural Resources, Mamalin, and our um, other students. Okay, Indonesian students. Good afternoon. To officially start our program, we will now hear an opening message from our VP for Academic Affairs, Dr. Ana Imaranya.
Maraynapon, good afternoon to our guest this afternoon, our visiting lecturer from Mataram, Indonesia, Sir Junaid. How are you doing? Good, thank you guys for coming over. This kind of activity has been the plan of the university years back. So it's just an honor and a privilege for you coming over and doing this lecture. Can you imagine a university doing a lecture from different cultures? This is the start. And I wish in the coming days we will have more of this. But for today's topic, our lecturer will look into the socio-cultural perspective. And we will try to think on how we can integrate this in the curricular programs of the graduate school. Especially at present, we have the new CMO, the CHED, the Commission on Higher Education, CMO, the policies and programs pertaining to a mandate given to the students of the graduate school to publish research. So this is an open window for everybody on how we cannot just publish research, but to also have collaboration with other universities. And eventually, if we do this one, we can already integrate or make use of this as part of the lesson. And sooner, we can have the micro credentials. And that can be part of the strategy for the graduate schools. It is in the pipeline of the academic affairs to do micro credentials. And then those competencies will be added and be credited in the course offerings of all the programs in the university. So take a look on this, Dean and other professors who are here. You are talking to the professors because to be able to teach in the graduate school, the requirement is to be a doctoral degree or a master in the field, an expert in the field, and with this researches and then publication. So this is in time for the graduate school. Before, if we just talk to the students, but this time we will try to enrich already the knowledge of our my co-faculty members of other culture. And this is not just by traveling abroad. The one that you will do for this afternoon to us is an opportunity. You are walking us through the perspective of Indonesia in terms of this topic. So to all of us here, we are looking forward for the talk, and hopefully this would not be the end. And I suggested to the Dean of the Graduate School, Dr. Haber, after the talk, let's have this business meeting of the possibility of looking into research collaboration of the faculty with the faculty of your university. So to all of you here, to all of us, we have viewers on the net, maybe we have students there. We are doing this blended so we can reach out many viewers and faculty and then students. So let's make use of this time, of this opportunity given to us by our partner from Mataram, Indonesia. Good afternoon po and marhay na hapon po and happy learning.
Thank you, Ma'am Ana. So to introduce our research speaker for this afternoon, our guest lecturer is a lecturer at the English Education Study Program at the University of Mataram. He was born, raised, and is based in Ungge, Central Lombok. His expertise includes English learning curriculum, teacher training, developmental psychology, and critical pedagogy. He graduated undergraduate S1 from English Education Department at Universitas Mataram, Masters in Applied Linguistics from University of Adelaide, and obtained his PhD in Education at Monash University with a specialization in Sociocultural approach in researching teacher educations. So he also served as advisors in several social organizations in Lombok Island and the co-founder of Jage Kastare Foundation, a volunteer-powered youth organization. He is actively organizing education, volunteering activities, and mobilized community efforts. And for his social work, he was granted Community Solution Program Leader organized by the U.S. Department of State, where he interned at Chicago Youth Center in 2015. He will join the Community Solution Summit on Humanitarian Crisis Response in Romania 2023 and currently supervising 2 student clubs at his university to spread the energy of social activism. So for this afternoon, let us welcome Dr. Ahmad Janaibi.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, teachers, professors, and the dean of the graduate school, Raben. Thank you very much for the opening by Dr. Imranya. I'm just going to go directly to it, and then I'm just trying to get away from the source of that, because it's very sharp. Oh, good. All good? Okay. Right. So I think I have my slides there, but before these slides go, my students from the University of Mataram, would you please have a documentation on this particular slide first? You already okay? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because this is better than my slide show. No, just yeah. Okay. Right. I think am I audible? I think this is better. Wait. Okay. Oh yeah. Like, just adjust. Okay. Right. Okay. All good now. See. Yeah, and I'd like to express my greeting to anyone who's watching online, if you're there. Okay, all good? I think we can continue. Right. In the audience, we have doctors, we have professors, and we have undergraduate students. But I believe that everybody will benefit from this, as I will benefit from the discussion that might emerge from this. I'm going to talk about the sociocultural perspective in researching the implementation of educational theories into practice. But let me also say that the discussion on Vygotskian theory, this guy is the Vygotsky, and he is the father of the sociocultural approach in researching human development. So think about the brain that we have. If we believe in the materialistic thinking of the source of recognition, we will know that human is the biochemical algorithm, and excluding the transcendental element of human, and then we are all just biology and chemistry and the physics that's operating inside our body. And then the Vygotsky says that we are just matter. And because he subscribes to the idea of materialism, that human is body with soul, not soul with a body. But that's the start of it. Vygotsky is a very unique man. He was very prolific, and he died at the age of 39. And in the very short age, he wrote a lot of books. But the sociocultural perspective is something that lasts up until now. The other element of my presentation today is to see the theory of Vygotsky in researching how teacher develops the theories in their mind, and then use this understanding to teach. For example, as teachers, we learn the concept of, let's say, constructivism. I think everyone here have heard about constructivism. And then how do we use the word constructivism? It's described by Vygotsky and the disciples and the students who are still using the theory. So can you please move on? And then, just a little bit there. Can you please go back a little bit? Go back to the slide. Yes, that's my name. And I work in the English Education Department at the University of Mataram. And then I finished my doctorate on this particular topic. It's not published yet. So that's why I'm protecting the slides that I have. I'm worried about it being available online and I will be accused of plagiarism. Okay, so can you please move on to the next? Okay, audience will be able to explain the Vygotskian method of researching concepts of appropriation. I will explain what appropriation means here, which include the paradigm, design, data collection, data analysis, through interactive discussion and a mini practice. I'm not sure we can do the whole sequence, but as a good teacher, we always have this at the beginning of the meeting. We want to have the objective, the indicator of success of this presentation. And please go to the next. I'm going to do a little bit of introduction, my profile, and then the underpinning theories of the research, the Vygotskian perspective on concept formation, and then educational concepts, exposure to student teachers, the implementation and appropriation of concepts. These are all the terms that we will cover. And why we research about concept appropriation, because fundamentally what we're doing as a teacher is using what we know how to teach into the teaching practice. So it's as simple as theory into practice and method, and we will do a mini practice. Let's do a little poll here. Yeah. Now think about your undergraduate degree. Ma'am, if I may, what did you do? What major did you do? Okay, and then?
Agriculture, major in horticulture.
Okay, so it's the combination between education and the agriculture. Okay, and I'm sure that we will hear more.
Agriculture, yes, agriculture, major in crop protection, specialization in plant technology.
Okay, right, yes. Excuse me. Oh.
Agriculture po major in plant science.
Plant science.
PSA agriculture major in agriculture.
Yes, sir.
B is chemistry.
Chemistry. Okay, right. And then everybody is undergraduate in English departments. And now, please write down the three concepts that you were exposed to in your undergraduate. I will guess one. It's scientific method. We all did that, like scientific method. We all have that as a concept, as a unified concept. Okay, maybe it starts with questioning, collecting the data, and then there's process of experimentation, there's a process of falsification, verification, maybe we learn a little bit about the philosophy of science, and then we learn about Thomas Kuhn and the paradigm shift and all that. I cannot go into the details of the chemistry or the physics, but I think what we share in common here is that we learn about scientific method. Let's agree on that. Did we learn about scientific method? Yeah. Okay. Now, if we write down the three concepts that are still informing our practice today, when we teach in the educational sense, maybe we learn something about the concept of collaborative learning, constructivism, behaviorism. I think we know these terms, but are we still using these terms in our teaching? Are we still doing this? For example, for me, there is a term that I learned as an undergrad. It's called the optimal monitor. Stephen Krashen. And it's useful for me because it's helpful in my concern for fluency and grammar. Sorry, it's not vocabulary, but grammar. So when I speak English as Indonesian, I want to be effective in my grammar, right? I have to make, so I don't want to make grammar mistake. But if I always focus on my grammar, maybe I will sacrifice fluency. So I have to get the optimal level of the balance between the two, between the fluency and the grammar accuracy. So by learning the theory, I'm informed by this since undergrad. It means that I have appropriated the theory, the concept of optimal monitor hypothesis in my practice. And as teachers, if we ask ourselves as teachers, what theories of education still informing our ways of teaching? Yes. Next slide. I think this has been covered. Next. Yes, this is the question that we will have. What is the core of Vygotsky theory? What is the building blocks of higher mental functions for thinking? The simple question here is that why do we think what we think? Why do we arrive to this level of consciousness? Why do we level at this level of cognition? Why do I believe that this is wrong and this is right? How do I arrive to that? Here's the question and Vygotsky answers the question. How we come into the presence by looking at our history. And then we will ask the question of what is the concept? Scientific concept, everyday concept. What is appropriation and or implementation in relation to it being an activity? So using theory is an activity. I will explain that. Now, a little bit about developmental psychology. Humans' higher mental function, such as problem solving, voluntary attention, logical reasoning, and other thinking activities are derived from social life through internalized social relations that have become functions for the individual and forms of this order structure. If I may engage you in a discussion here, and I think you can just reflect on our progress up to this point. And also, I'd like to ask the students as well in the back. When we say that we have strong will or motivation to learn, if when our students are motivated, we usually say that it is an internal drive from the students. And then we ask questions, where do the strong motivation come from? And then we can arrive to a situation or statement that it comes from social life. Like human is the product of the environment. Nothing is really internal. But if we talk about the genetics, we can have a conversation about that. There is a part of the genetic, but then if we say, oh, the students are so strong-willed, and then, oh, yeah, because they've been strong-willed since they were born. But I think that's a wrong observation. The motivation comes from their social life, maybe it's from the way the parents raised them, the community, the books that they've read, the movies that they've watched, and all this, everything that is higher mental function, like the way I'm speaking right now, the way I solve mathematical problems, logical reasoning, they are from social life, and then they're internalized, and it becomes individual structure. Yes. So, when I say higher mental function, it means we think in concepts. We think in concepts. For example, if you're trying to solve a mathematical problem, if you're trying to solve what's the disease of a certain plant, and then you will work within the scientific realms, and we will think in concepts. And we define concepts as mental representation, because it is just mental representation. It is not something that has the material, physical substance of it. It's a mental representation that allow individuals to recognize and categorize events and objects with higher precision about reality. So we think about the reality of this bottle, and then just because we know the concept of bottle, we can categorize it and differentiate it through this. We understand the but probably not very multimodal anyway. If we talk about the emerging in the cognitive development of a person, which is characterized by it is abstract, theoretical character, meaning cohesiveness, logic, and generality, which means that a scientific concept has a very specific notion to it. So when I say the word, I'm trying to find the term that we all can relate here. What about if I say air? The air. If we think generally, the air will be okay, whatever's here. It's the air, I'm breathing the air. But to an expert in, let's say, atmosphere, chemistry, the air is broken down into several concepts of oxygen, of this hydrogen, of whatever's flying around us. You will think about the atoms and all that. So the scientific concept, so when we talk about the air, yes, it has a scientific conceptualization, But then you have to go deeper into the abstractness of that uh, concept air, and you can go deeper into it. Now, it does not automatically mean that scientific concepts are in some universal sense objectively true, because the concept of trueness itself is problematic. What do we mean by objectively true? Yeah, even, I don't know, like Thomas Kuhn will discuss about, okay, there's nothing really objectively true, there's nothing really universally true. Even the concept of gravity from Newton has been changed into the concept of gravity to Einstein. And then we say, oh, it's going to be changing every time. There's nothing stagnant about it. There's nothing constant. But of course, in the scientific communities, we don't deal with this anymore. We look at people who discuss science as philosophy as people who just want to philosophize. Yeah. So, but what I'm saying here, scientific concepts are, it has the level of abstractness, but if we believe it to be, it's objectively true, yes. Like the air, we know that atom is an objective truth, and then we can say that. But sometimes people create concepts, scientific concepts, and we know the graves of all theories. Our world is filled of the graves of all theories that has died, and it means that they were wrong once. Now there are new scientific concepts. Yeah. Now, what is a concept? It is reflected in a word. For example, the word oxygen. We know oxygen. We know water as H2O, for example. 2 hydrogen atoms and we have 1 oxygen. And then with the word water, we have the scientific concept of it, and the word is assigned for a concept. And please bear in mind that I'm here to research how a concept is used in the classroom. Now here, consciousness is reflected in words just like the sunshines are reflected in a drop of water. Words construct human consciousness like cells compose organism, like atoms compose the universe. A meaningful word is microcosmos of human consciousness. And I have a question to everyone here. Do people who know more words mean they are more intelligent than others?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, but if they can use the varieties of world in scientific sense, and they are accurate, does it mean that they have a clearer description about reality?
Yes.
Okay, if they can explain that in more accurate. I'm not saying the speech orator, no, I'm not speaking about people who talk a lot. I'm speaking about people who know a lot of vocabulary and words, and they can explain it and they know what it means. Do they mean they are more, let's say, intelligent?
No.
No, because intelligence is about solving problems and, okay, right, yes. But can we say that they have more knowledge about the world?
More information.
More information.
About the world.
More information about the world. It doesn't mean intelligent.
Nothing, sir.
No, okay. Okay, because we define intelligence as the ability to solve problems. That's probably how do we define intelligence?
The ability to use their critical thinking
In order to
solve the problems.
yes, okay. So the critical thinking itself is a tool. It's not the end, I would say here. So okay, right. But the Vygotsky will say that if people know more words and they can describe that accurately, I would go with the statement that, okay, it means they have more information. And in the hierarchy of information, we know we have data, information, knowledge, and wisdom. If you see that pyramid. And then I think information is a very strong base for knowledge. Now, this is my favorite band called Pink Floyd. and I used the band's cover album to explain about how we can create true knowledge. Let's think about a farmer in a village. They plant rice. We plant rice here in the Philippines, I believe. Okay. And then how many times per year we can harvest?
3.
3. Wow, okay. Isn't it like 2? No, 2.
3 maximum.
Okay, so 3 months, 3 months, 3 months.
Every year.
Oh, yeah, in 1 year, how many harvests can we have? 3, okay.
3 months. If it is properly irrigated, you can have 3 cropping. If not, in the mountain areas, 1 year.
Oh, okay. Right.
It depends on the geographic location of the farm.
Right.
And the irrigation.
And the farmers, do they know how the, let's say, certain soil will enrich the nutrition of several plants?
In the Philippines, mostly, if not all, farmers
Okay.
does not have the cultural or enough information for
Yeah.
how to determine how to break the soil or certain.
Yes.
That's why we have CPHUA to help this.
Right. My mother told me how to measure the amount of fertilizer that we will use, because we have 2 plots of land. Small plot, small plot. The smaller plot here, it's near the river. It's flooded sometimes. And then my mother said, you don't need to fertilize that much because the flood carries mud from other areas. And they don't use a lot of fertilizer there. But this one needs more fertilizer. Now, that's what I call, and that's what we call, the everyday concepts. It's the everyday knowledge of a farmer. Okay, and then what now we know. And then I go to the lab. I go to the lab of my university, and in this lab, they talk about how the flood carries the nutrition from other areas, and then it can stop in a certain place near the river. That's why when it's flooded, I think it has some. We are also in Egypt. There is a Nile River, and it's so fertilized by the river when it's flooded, and it's sorry. Okay, I'm good. Okay, right. So when I go to the lab, they speak in these more abstract concepts. They talk about how the nutritions and the name of the nutritions and the name of the molecules and the name of this and that. But my mother doesn't understand that. My mother just understands that if flood comes, and then we don't need a lot of fertilizer for the next years, for the next planting season. So here what's happening here is that the scientific concepts from the university meets the scientific concepts, sorry, the everyday concepts from my mother. And then if we transport that to the right zone of learning, let's say me as the learner, and then it can be new conceptual understanding. So I am the son of a farmer. I've always been the son of a farmer, and I've always lived in the farm before I studied in high school. That's my everyday concepts. But then in the classroom, I learn with effective teachers, effective books, effective methods. And then it enriches and make my understanding more colorful. This is the process of learning. This is the process of true learning. It is the dialectical relationship between what we know in the ground. People sometimes say street smart or knowledge on the street, or And we know people who are so smart even though they don't go to school. Like they know this and that. But nobody beats the knowledge of people who go to school, because they learn about the scientific concepts, they test, they go to the labs. If it's wrong, they have the means of experimentation. They falsify it, they verify it. So in a way that the two kinds of knowledge, the everyday knowledge and the scientific knowledge, they have to move together, upward and downward, so we can have new conceptual understanding and new enriched conceptual understanding. This is the concept of Vygotsky, and the learning has to happen in ZPD. For the undergraduate students of mine, excuse me, now, I know that this probably under your zone of learning. If it's too far from your zone of learning, you will find it hard to understand. So that's my job, to approach your zone of learning so you can arrive at this zone of proximal development. This is where learning happens. I have to meet your everyday knowledge about the world so I can impart you with the scientific knowledge. And if I am the teacher of do is I'm always going to ask, what do you know about this matter? What do you know about this? Usually when we learn, okay, what happens to the ice if it's melted, for example? It goes from solid to watery, liquid. And then, okay, and then we explain that scientifically. So everyday concepts, scientific concepts, we marry them in the zone of proximal development, and then it becomes the true concepts in the mind of the students. And that's how the cognition develops. Next, please. I don't know why the picture is here, but examples of scientific concepts of English teacher education in Indonesia. This is me teaching English to primary school students. It is in one village, and the classroom was not available, so we studied there in some kinds of veranda or gazebo. We teach them about text. This is a text. This is also a text. A holy book is a text. Anything, any unit of language that has a meaning and structure is text. So I teach about that, but then I ask the students, okay, is it a text? So if I tear this into two, it's like doing that, is it still a text? And they say, oh yeah, it's still a text. But when you tear it down, even though it still have letters in it, it loses the meaning. So it has to be unified. Now, that's how I will approach the teaching of scientific concepts in language, because scientific concept is not only exclusive to the scientific concepts in natural science, but also in language and natural and also social science. And these are all the terms that I teach. Now, the summary so far is we are exposed to many scientific concepts during our undergraduate degrees, of course. The success of students' understanding on the concepts are shaped by many elements, like how human is shaped by the environment. And also the Vygotsky maintained that development of one's cognition are shaped by sociocultural historic elements. There is no development that starts internally. There is no internal the factors that might influence the success of learning, yes, we know that. For example, we know that stunted babies, they will find it hard in their brain to learn. They will be lagged behind. They will have problems with their working memory just because their brain is not functioning well. They have disadvantage. We know this, but it's not what it meant. It's not what it means by saying that anything internal must come from the external. That's the law of Vygotsky. Now, and these concepts, the concepts of theory, scientific concepts, are expected to be implemented or appropriated. Why don't I use the word implement that much? Implement means I have a theory, I implement it. Just it is, just like what it is. But appropriation means I use the concept and then I can change it to meet the context that I'm going to be teaching in. So it's not 100% implementation, but appropriation. Appropriation will mean the adjustment of it. Now, appropriation as an activity. To make it simpler, it means something like this. The act of using theory into practice is an activity, but the activity itself, it has a scientific understanding. Activity is object-oriented, collective, and culturally mediated. I'm giving you the lecture today. I have the goal. I have the means of doing it. If I don't have the goal, it's not an activity. The activity is characterized by the presence of a motive. Speak and I speak at the same time. It's not gonna work. So there are rules. Community, you're my community. You're not the objects, you're my community to reach the object. Division of labor, I will explain and then you will be engaged in the discussion. Next, please. And these are the relationship of an activity, and we can use it for everything. Let's say the subject is the farmer and the goal is what? Succeeding the planting season. And we have the tools and science. The tools and science can be, let's say, fertilizer and the knowledge about fertilizer. And then the rules will be, if the government doesn't allow you to plant rice, you will never plant rice. And also if religion forbids of planting certain kinds of plants, and then they will never do that. So the rules there influence it. Community, without other people, the farmers will not be able to plant. So that's why the community is important there. Division of labor, I plant, you will do the fertilizer, and then the government will buy, the government will distribute. And this is the sense of meaning. And why I say that every activity, the very core of it is always the motive. Because if you don't have the motive, nothing is going to work here. Succeeding something, you can just change the subject with anything. The president, and then you will work with this. That's why this activity theory may be not so popular in the Philippines or in Indonesia, but I think it can be used in teaching. Yeah. Okay, next please. And then this is the genetic method. Humans are both affected by phylogeny and human biological heritage and interrelated sociocultural elements. Let me explain the meaning of this ellipse here. Let's say it's me here. Yeah. Let's say it's just me, an individual. I am affected by the fact that I am in a universe with time and space. That's why we have the physical time. I am affected by the phylogenetic. The phylogenetic because we are told I'm carbon-based creature. If I am silicon-based, I will never be human like me now. Here. And I'm also influenced by the cultural historical time, which means that now I am standing in front of you with my way of speaking, with some level of respect to the elders, just because I am influenced by the way I was raised from the past. And also this is because we have rules now and norms of interacting with each other. That's why I behave like this here. And that's why I can utter some scientific words just because I have been educated with English within, let's say, the school of thought of Vygotsky. And the ontogeny means that every past experience that I have had. For example, if one day I was traumatized by speaking in public and I was trampled, for example, maybe now I'm going to be a little bit more afraid, but I've never experienced such things, so I'm good. And microgenesis, it relates to whatever happens now. So if I'm not getting the engagement from you here, maybe my mood will be low, my performance will be affected, and that. So whatever that I'm doing at this very second now, it's influenced by the fact that I live in the space and time dimension of the universe. It's because I was born as a carbon-based creature and as a Homo sapiens, as a species, because I've been through the cultures of the West, the culture of the East. I was raised in Indonesia, but educated in the West for 6 years. And the ontogeny is every past experience that I've done. And microgenesis is whatever's that's happening right now. And that forms me as an individual. And we can use it to research our students. That's what I mean. The triangle before, if you can go to the triangle. This is to research about a teacher teaching, using knowledge, the rule, the community, the division of labor, and the goal of teaching, and the knowledge about teaching. And then if you can go there, next. And this is to research the histories of the students. Yeah, so we have the tool to research about the activity and the tool to research about the past. And then when we say that people use theory into practice, there are levels of using theory into practice. The level of not using it at all. For example, scientific method. People can use scientific method, but nothing at all. No, not using it. But also they can only mention, for example, I can mention something like, oh yeah, I know scientific method, but I just know the label. I don't understand it. I just mention it. And this happens every time with people. They know the word, but they don't know what it means. It happens many times. But then there is minimal appropriation. We know several tenets of it, but don't know the whole interactions within the tenets. And surface feature appropriation higher than the minimal, and conceptual underpinning appropriation, it's almost there. Scientific method is understood in every layers, but not yet at the level of mastery. This is what I gained from my PhD project. I created this by modification from other researcher, and I'm trying now. My struggle now, my fight, I would say, is to get this acknowledged by as the new classification of the appropriation level. Yes. Okay. I gave you the concept text. What is a text? The concept text can be appropriated to a certain degree. So These are what we should know about text scientifically. My students from the English department know this is called the context of situation, context of culture. It's what you learn in discourse analysis and also discourse analysis. You're very familiar with this, the English. Yeah, yes. We know what's a field, tenor, mode, register, lexical, grammar, phonological, graphical. We know this. Now, if I appropriate this perfectly, I will use this theory to teach text effectively. But I can arrive to several levels. I can do no appropriation because I don't understand this one. I don't apply it. I just know the term. I know the term field, tenor, and mode, but don't know what they mean. I know several tenets without knowing the relationship among the tenets. And I know I can implement the concepts with clear foundation and clear underpinning ideas and mastering the concepts in every way. No, nothing is not covered when I'm mastering something. And I believe that I don't know if anyone will reach to the mastery of something unless it's something that they create. Okay, please. Now, in my research, I do this methodology. So remember, my research is about teacher implementing theories of teaching into practice. You can do this research as well because you are teachers and you will be teachers. I use the constructivist interpretivist paradigm, qualitative collection through genetic method. Genetic method is the arrow of time that I showed earlier. And then activity theory is the triangle. So I research the past history of the students through the genetic method and research the activity of teaching through the activity theory and the appropriation degrees that I just showed. Next, please. I will just skip this one. It's very, yeah, I'm just gonna skip this one. Let's go next, yeah. And then the cross case, because I have 6 participants, and then it's cross case study. Each case, 6 students, and then cross case. And my undergraduate students, you will do the same thing when you research about the Filipino and Indonesian students understanding about cultural awareness. Skip. Okay. To understand the present, we have to look at the past. I think we agree on this. And the context of both the present and the past. Onto genetic. I mentioned this, the past experience, past learning. So when I research the students, the teachers, I look at their English learning, teaching experience and everything. And then the context of regulation from the university, societal rules and everything. I will pose a question here. I will pose a question. In Indonesia, some English teachers, they are very, very religious. And their religiosity influences the way that they teach English. Probably they will open with, like first prayers, and also they will maybe use certain religious texts to teach the language, and maybe they will not teach the Western culture. So it's here. And if they have 5 years of experience in teaching, maybe they will implement the theory better. But the length of experience, it doesn't mean that you will be experienced. Let's say you have 15 years experience of living abroad, but you only stay in your apartment. No learning is happening. Experience is like that, the train track that sparkles fire. It can just go in an instant if you don't learn. And the length of experience in something doesn't mean that you're experienced. It means that it's not that I only observe this one, but I observe the concepts that arises from the experience. And the microgenetic. For example, if they are paid only, I don't know about this in pesos, 150,000 rupiah. It's, oh wait, it's like, oh, 500 pesos. It's a month. It's a month. What? It's 150,000. Oh, wait. I'm gonna use US dollars here. 10 USD. 10 US dollars. If they are paid 10 US dollars, do you think that they will intentionally make their learning so perfectly, and then they will teach the students in the best service possible? Maybe yes, maybe no, but it influences the performance, and we know that. All right, so the motivation, and I said, sir. Oh yeah, I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Can we go back? Can we go back to that triangle? Triangle. Again. Okay, now we put money here. Let's put money in the motive. But I'm not sure if human is only motivated by that money, but it's also something to do with, let's say, something that is quantifiable but not money, like fame, acknowledgement, fame, and then more names for ourselves. Yeah, so still. yes, exposure doesn't pay the bills. yes, and there's a song, sir, and then you have to pay for my skill, but because exposure doesn't pay the bill. It's I say, yeah, just right. Okay, let's go to the next. Right, so I did the research by doing this one. Yeah, I did an interview to see their past experience, to see what they've been through, to see their motive, to see that what they think about teaching, what their philosophy is. And then I observed them in the classroom. Oh, do they use the method of this, of that, of this, of that? Oh, sorry, pre-service teacher. Okay, they are not really teachers, but they've been teaching for like 4 months. Pre-service teacher, practice teachers, yes, practice teachers. I did the observation, I did the post-teaching reflection, I interviewed the supervisors, because teachers in the school, they contribute a lot to the development of the pre-service teachers, right? If they are good, they will teach the pre-service teachers. Yes, and then, oh yeah, you have to teach with this method. And if nobody is telling us to do that, maybe we will not use certain method. And post-practicum interview, these are all the details. We don't need to go here. And then this is the domain that I mentioned, this ontogenetic, cultural historic, microgenetic, cultural historic, information, ontogenetic, cultural historic, and microgenetic domain data. Okay, and after analyzing the data, so what we do is, all the data is coded into data and the domains. I look at remember, ontogenetic means history, cultural historic means the culture and context, and microgenetic on what's happening. Microgenetic means what's happening now. So I look at this all, and then I feed into the activity system, the triangle, feeding to the domains of activity system, and see the factors that influence the process of teaching. Here in contradiction, that's called. So everybody who learns about Marx, they know the word contradiction. It means problems and tensions. But it's a very specific type of contradiction. Cross-case analysis, and then all the cases are compared and see the emerging data. Now, this is what we have. Okay, so this is the core of the research. The subject here is the pre-service teacher. And let's make a thought experiment. Put yourself here. If you're the teacher, put yourself there. You have history. You have the history of English teaching. You have the philosophy of learning. You know how the knowledge will help the students. And if you have a caring heart, maybe that's a plus point. Now, but you also have something that we call mediating tools here. Some teachers, they know tools, concepts like scientific approach, text teaching concepts, including relevant content knowledge, pedagogical content knowledge, and support knowledge. But I don't use, here I don't put the computers, notebooks, board markers, I don't put it there. Now, think about the rules. If the rules say you can only teach the students for 10 minutes, will you be able to implement the method? If you only have 10 minutes of teaching, can you implement a method? No. That's why the rules have to be supportive. What if community members, here means the students, the headmasters, the supervising teachers. I'm going to pose a question. If you are so smart, you have a caring heart, you have the motivation of money and everything in there, you have perfect rule, you have 90 minutes to implement the method, but then the students are so misbehaving.
And the students are very politically maneuvered by somebody else.
And then yeah, it usually happens. Yes, I will put it here in the community elements. I will put the community elements like the politics there, the misbehaving of the students, because however perfect we have the method, but the students are not behaving well, and then it's going to be the failure of the appropriation. Division of labor, does the supervising teacher give the feedback, and do the supervisee or the previous teacher reflects on the feedback? Okay, so we have the division of labor, and we know this comes from Marx tradition as well, division of labor, Marxism. But it doesn't mean politically, just philosophically. Now, after doing the coding, for example, I have my participant named Gali here. Gali frequently mentioned the word scaffolding. He keeps saying scaffolding, scaffolding, scaffolding.
In fact, I always attribute scaffolding to because whenever I hear that name,
Scaffolding, yes. And that is the most famous term from Vygotsky, right? Yes. If I may, Brunner and Vygotsky. The word scaffolding is the combination of these two. Attributed to them. But Vygotsky also believed that the scaffolding is the core of it, right? And the scaffolding happens in the zone of proximal development. Now, Gali always mentioned the word scaffolding, scaffolding. And then this is my first window, because I say what? Because I say the word that human utters is the window to the consciousness of that person. So when you mention something like, for example, this morning, Aisha, my student there, mentioned the word moral relativism. If she can use the word moral relativism, that is my first window to understanding her consciousness about the word moral relativism. And I engage her in a conversation, and I know that she understands it from this book, and this book. So that's how I then dig deeper into the consciousness of Gali in terms of the word scaffolding. But then I asked, where did you learn the word scaffolding? And then he said, he explained the word scaffolding, and he said that, oh, I got it when I was in semester 3. And also my brother has a book, and my brother told me this guy named this guy has a theory of scaffolding. So you see that the success of Gali, the student, understanding the word scaffolding is not only from the semester 3 lesson, but also from the brother. But also that he tried, had the motivation of learning it. And then in the observation in the classroom, I see Gali was observed helping the students, showing some kinds of assistance resembling the concept of scaffolding, where he sat with the student and guided him to complete a task. And we know the understanding of the word scaffolding, right? So scaffolding is that structure in the building that you destroy once the building is ready. We call that scaffolding. So, but scaffolding in teaching is you walk through the students' what the strength and weaknesses, and try to take the students through the level, the zone of learning. And when they can do that alone, you leave them. That's the concept of scaffolding. You keep supporting them. That's the concept. Yes? And the summary here of the procedures: researcher collects the data of a participant from all data sources. The data collected will feed into the participant's activity system. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Are we? It's all right. Okay. I'm worried about the bag because I have. Okay. Okay. We can inaugurate today to become National Falling Day. Okay. All right. Yes. Yeah. All right. Right. So these are the summaries of the levels. The word scaffolding is used here. The more blue the color, it means the higher the level of implementation. I wish I can just like zoom this one. Oh yeah, oh wow, okay. Can we go a little bit? Can we go? Okay. Yeah, here for example. Performing appropriation fully to execute tasks highly effectively. Demonstrating appropriation clearly informed by understanding of the tenets of the concepts to a major extent. So let's take an example of somebody fixing like a machine. If he demonstrate the fixing of a machine through the explanation, this process, that process, and then he can be categorized as this level of blue, the underpinning conceptual. Yeah, even though it is not perfect here. Perfect means zero mistake in the process. Yeah, conceptual. So we have minimal appropriation. Sorry?
Is that level where, for example, technician is already the amount enough skill to with the ice flow.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like yeah, full mastery. The full mastery. We joke about this full mastery of electrician. Really, if you are no longer afraid of being electrocuted, if you're no longer afraid of being electrocuted, oh, you are the master. Yeah, like they're so, and they don't get electrocuted. Yes, it's the zero mistake mastery. I'm not sure. Maybe in a very controlled environment like the lab, we can make zero mistake, right? But in social science or applied science like teaching, it's just nobody can guarantee that you're doing a perfect job. It's always very multifactorial. Yeah. Yeah. Doctors, yes. There's a problem there. And also, I talk about adoption of theories, but there is also rejection of theories. Have you rejected a theory?
Before that, I cannot control anymore myself. I am very interested to clarify about the application. After your discussion, you are telling us that it has been part of your work.
Okay.
Now, here you are telling a certain level of application before one can say that he or she has really adapted a particular concept. Now, my question to you is, because I know you have been into the rigors for how things are done, can we now, say, because it's your work, can we now say that it can become a tall order for any person involved in facilitating learning? That action should always be leading to appropriate or to accurate concept appropriation.
Yeah.
Is that so?
Yeah. I think appropriation is central to all teaching profession. Teaching profession and every other profession that we can call activity, because we don't. Let me go into very general ways of how human interact with reality. I cannot operate this computer if I'm not mediated by the concept of computer, the concept of if I touch this, it will create this one. So we don't interact directly with the world. That's what Vygotsky says. We interact with the world through the concepts. I cannot be polite if I don't understand the politeness in the Philippines. So what I'm saying here is that appropriation is actually the using the concepts to be in certain context. So it's not only teaching, especially teaching. If we believe that teaching involves knowledge of teaching.
And not all of us, not all teachers can practice that right concept of appropriation to certain group of people. And more often, teachers fail along that path. Because in them, you already structured the kind of content they need to share, etc., in a group of students, without perhaps considering what is the appropriate ways, what are the appropriate ways of doing it. Can we say that they fail to subscribe in that appropriation indicator?
Yes.
Or perhaps, sir, just they have only reached a certain level of appropriation, not the mastery appropriation. Because I believe these are levels.
Yeah.
Yes. So perhaps not mastery appropriation, but only up to some extent there.
Okay. When you say that, for example, they fail in appropriating a concept, maybe first they don't care about the concepts because they think they have the intuition of teaching. So often, for example, I have my afternoon Islamic school teacher. He doesn't go to college of education, but he just teach from the experience and intuition. And he doesn't use the concepts, but he creates his own concept. For example, if I keep repeating what I say 10 times, my students will memorize it. And we call that rote learning, right? Memorization, drilling. And now the concept of drilling has been mastered maybe here. It doesn't mean that our intuition is expertise that we don't know we have. It's something that called maybe tacit knowledge, the tacit knowledge. So I'm not saying that those people who don't appropriate a concept is not knowledgeable. They just don't know that they have it. But later they will, remember I said something about scientific concept? its abstractness. It's going to be unified in his thinking. Yes. So if you want to use this, please wait for me publishing this first. Please. Oh, yes.
Implementation in appropriation.
Yeah.
Sometimes concentrate on, as long as this is for compliance, I will implement this. But without minding that there are things that we have to appropriate to consider concept appropriation. Plus and minus. So it's very interesting how to blend that implementation and the appropriation.
They are different. And I'm very, very happy that you mentioned that. You catch that difference in an apt manner, in a way that I'm talking about appropriation, I'm not talking about implementation. Implementation is like the government says this and you go there, you do it without minding whatever's plus and minus with the students. So if you can go to the next, it shows really this is what is new. I also make the levels of rejection. When the government says that we have to do certain method, in Indonesia we are asked to teach with scientific approach in teaching language, which I think, why would we use scientific method in teaching language? Maybe it's not appropriate. So for language, we already have our own method in teaching language. Why would I use the knowledge, the method of teaching natural science into teaching language? So the students rejected, which means what? Now we have a level of rejection, not only the level of appropriation. Think about this one. When you hear something say, this method is the best, if you take it, you implement it. If you appropriate it, you do the thinking and also the plus minus, and then you use it. But if you say, after thinking about it, I think I'm going to reject it. If you reject it just because you know the plus and minus, it means you conceptually reject something. But if you reject something just because other people reject it, maybe you reject it because of the label. Because some people reject something. For example, I always use this. I hate capitalism. People say they hate capitalism, but maybe because they don't know what capitalism means before they reject it. Yes, and also communism. It's following the herd. So we can apply this to many, many things, not only just education. Go, please. And then we see the factors shaping the levels of appropriation. Maybe it's teaching experience, maybe it's learning experience, the belief of the concept, understanding of the concept, access to constructive guidance, students' characteristics. When my students are so noisy, maybe they will affect it. Curricular demand from the authority. If the government doesn't say you have to, maybe we will not. Nobody's like bothered of doing anything if they are not given the command. Maybe the government is the sole driver of it. The rule and societal rule concept with the concepts. Next, please. Next, please. Okay, I think I have arrived to the end of the presentation, and I'm sorry that we will not have the time to do the practice, but let me please say something before we go. The triangle can be used in any human activity as long as it has a goal. CBS UA, for example, has the goal of becoming internationally recognized in the ASEAN region, for example. And then we can see who is the subject, maybe the rector, the president. And then the president will have the tools, the rules, the norms. So we can use this framework to research anything that has something to do with human cognition and human activity. And in relation to everything here, I would like to say that the students with low motivation, maybe we have to ask something about motivation. Are they low in motivation because they are intrinsically low motivated, or because the teachers make them lowly motivated? So it's a very unique.
Fails, the teacher fails more.
Yeah. So we see this. Do they have low motivation because of the method is not motivating, or the method is not working because the students have low motivation? So you see that the circle there between the students and the method. So because sometimes we only think about, okay, oh, a method doesn't work. Why? They have low motivation. But the students will say, I have low motivation because your method is bad. So maybe I will just put that into our head. Thank you very much. I am Ahmad Junaidi. Thank you so much. Yes, I think mine. I really hope that I can link this in CBSU and maybe one write something together.
Yes. We are going to write something together.
Yeah. Thank you. What is my water?
First, I asked already.
Yeah.
I asked. Ano, siguro. I am working because I said a while back that I am becoming so um, motivated by that appropriation and implementation. So, how can you perhaps assist our students and faculty alike to venture and further extend the coverage or the scope where we can apply this not only in language teaching, where we can apply this different rudiments of your levels of appropriation. Can it also be used in other human other disciplines?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And how can you help us along that line?
Okay. I think being helpful means having the power to do so, and then being allowed to help. And if I'm allowed to help, I will say that this triangle, we can put we can we can see the factors that influence the success of our learning. Okay, right. So this we can use to see the factors that influence the learning of the students in all majors. So let's say the majors, what we have, the agriculture and natural resources. If I'm not mistaken, that's the name. Okay, right. And then we can, for example, we want to see the appropriation of the theories of, let's say, soil science among the lecturers. The method of teaching, the science teaching method, let's say, the science teaching method. We can put the lecturers here, and we can see what they know about the method, and we can see if the president is encouraging or if the department is encouraging for the use of that method. And if the community, the students are behaving and everything is running well in terms of the community, no other faculty members say, "Why are you still working with that method? That method has been outdated," and the teacher can be discouraged, especially us, the young lecturers. What I'm saying here is that if we go here seeing teaching as an activity, we can use every act of human activity, including teaching, to see the problem that happens here. For example, if the teachers are not successful in teaching using certain method, maybe it's not his fault. Maybe it's not the fault of the university. Maybe it's not the fault of the community. Maybe it's not the fault of division of labor. Maybe it's the fault of money. Both here. So this triangle teaches us to look at different factors that influence the success of human activity. It's never single. It's never a single cause unless it is very controlled. We see the relationship here as contradiction. Sometimes the contradiction is between the teacher and the student, the teacher and the rule, the teacher and the motivation, the teacher and the knowledge of the teacher and the lack of facilities. When Indonesia and the Philippines fail in terms of, let's say, teaching certain level of science literacy, probably it's because we don't have enough facilities of doing that, not just because we don't have the motivation. So what I'm saying here is that using this triangle, we can map into the factors that influence the success of something that can be categorized as activity. If we fail in teaching some kinds of science literacy, maybe the problem is not the money, the facilities. Maybe the problem is not the motivation. Maybe the problem is because some religions doesn't want us to teach about evolution, the rule, the religious rule. So we see we can use this. And how can I be of help if we want to move on using this to map into the factors? I can connect us to a circle of activity theory. I was about to go to Moscow in 2018 because I was invited to join the activity theory circle there, but I was not allowed to go to Russia by my supervisor. So I didn't join. But what I'm saying here, there is a community of the experts in this triangle in the world. And I can connect Monash University with CBSUA and then also my home university. So we can have probably like, okay, how do we use the theory into researching teacher cognition or students' ability to execute laboratorium procedures, for example, because it's a university, it's also an activity which has a motive. And we can know where it went wrong by looking at this. Yeah. I hope that. Yeah. Yes, please.
So, I note here that it's consciousness reflected in words like the sunshine reflected in a drop of water. How about someone who is really good at remembering words? Actually don't know what's what about the thing that she or he said. Is it still considered a microcosm of the human consciousness?
Okay. Please go to the. And go a little bit there. Like next, please. Next. Go on. 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 Again. Oh yeah, here. Oh yes. Okay. Why here? When I say that word is the reflection of human consciousness, I say it in a way that the word that is practiced, that is used. That's why in researching about appropriation, you don't look at the verbal illustrators of appropriation, but you also look at the in practice indicators. So even though you say, for example, as somebody here, okay, the space and time is bent and curved and blah, 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 you quote Einstein, you quote Newton and blah, blah, blah. And then if you cannot execute that in the level that is needed to say you have appropriated to the level of conceptual underpinning, you're just a memorizer of words, and you're not in the activity of doing, but maybe you are in the activity of memorizing. And you're parroting something, maybe you just label, means that you claim to have appropriated the concepts, but you no show of appropriation in practice. Yep. So that quote is, it's like a poetry. It's very beautiful, but only by digging into the meaning of it. But I still believe that word is the first window to that consciousness, because if you don't say something, I will not know what you mean by anything. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, thank you for the question. Yes.
Sir, actually, this is not a question, but I would like to invite, of course, your university and your university, of course, you and other faculty members to collaborate with us. I don't know what transpired this morning at the education department. I know you had a meeting with the English teachers. So this time we are expressing our desire to collaborate with you. We have our teachers here in the graduate school, some of them coming also from the education department or the College of Development Education, but some are coming from the College of Agriculture and Natural Resources. But you said earlier that we could also conduct a research on how laboratory experiments are done, because these are all part of this lecture that you have had earlier. And I myself, as an English teacher, I'm also interested to collaborate with you. You were talking about appropriation and all. Perhaps we could also, I'm also teaching comparative education. So maybe we could have a comparative study on education and also on language learning and teaching. For example, we are also going to have internationalization as part of our subjects in the Doctor of Philosophy in Development Education. So we could also collaborate perhaps on these areas. So please help us with this. Thank you very much, sir.
Oh, okay, right. So, my heart is filled with warmth when the presentation is accepted, and now I have to put that into the calendar because I'm gonna do it. I'm going to talk to my university, and we had conversation with Dean Raquel. We will map each of our researchers' specialization. We will have the mapping, and I specifically asked from CBSUA. CBSUA will be our tutors in teaching the language of instruction to the teachers of UNRAM, because you teach in English. Our teachers don't speak English, so but some of them they. Oh, okay. Yes, because I am in the English department, sir. Yeah, I spent some time doing, yes, in the master's and doctorate. So yeah, some of our teachers, they read journals, but they don't make the production, like speaking. They write, but the writing sometimes is translated. They sometimes translate the Indonesian into English. CBSUA is to join our program of teaching the teachers to instruct in English, how to open a class, how to. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been a great progress.
language teacher, most of us can do it better in the global scale.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Like wow. Okay. Yes.
We have the language of instruction English, the nature of instruction.
Yes. And it's my curiosity as well. Like um, when we teach in English, how much more effective is the delivery of the science that is in that language? So yes, and my response to you is it's a certain that we will meet soon in a Zoom meeting between our researchers, and we can map onto each other's. Let's like matchmaking, matchmaking, yeah, matchmaking. Okay, yeah, researchers. Yeah.
I have a question on a very little personal. Do you consider your better English or better speaking, and do you consider it an advantage on your part when you can do it better in terms of using the global language as compared to your other fellow teachers in your university?
The advantage can be both economical in a way that, for example, because I speak English, probably I will be asked to teach, and that's the advantage from in terms of the economy. But I think what I have the advantage over is the access to the readings and other knowledge. 80% of the world information is now written in English. If they don't speak English, it's limited. So they will stuck with that. But now we have all the means. The translation is better, and we know something about like Chat GTP is the new technology, artificial intelligence. You can just type something and just something turns. Yeah, yeah. So and then you take a picture of something. It just directly shows you the English. You don't have to translate it anymore. You just have to photograph it. So I'm saying is yes, it has the advantage, but in a situation where we have to speak to foreigners, visitors, I have the advantage of just being able to just say whatever I want to say, basically. No, but not actually. I'm sent here. I am sent here by my university. That's already a prize for me. Like I can speak the language because I've been hanging out with the kids for like a month, I guess. Yeah, yeah. Right. So we will. We only have PhD in law, the law, and then we have masters in all faculties. The faculty postgrad, yes. So we have the dry land management. We have agriculture and the food processing faculty. Yeah, technology. We say food technology. Sorry, food processing. Yeah, and then we also have the people who study taro, the bees, stingless bee, and yeah. So there are many similarities. Is because we live in this region, and then yeah, with the English as well, we have a lot to learn. So I'm just gonna close it by let's work together collaboratively to solve both of our problems. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So at this junction, may I invite the Dean, our Dean of Graduate School, for the awarding of the certificates. Let me read the citation first. A certificate of appreciation is hereby given to Dr. Ahmad Junaidi in grateful appreciation of his meritorious as a resource speaker in a lecture with the Graduate School faculty on the theme Sociocultural Perspective in Researching and Implementation of Educational Theories in Practice on March 16, 2023 at Central Bicol State University of Agriculture, Pili, Camarines Sur, Philippines. Given the 16th day of March 2023 at CBSUA Pili, Camarines Sur, Philippines, signed Dr. Claribel Haber, the Dean of Graduate School, signed Dr. Celerino Bilisol, the Campus Administrator of Pili, and our SUC President, Dr. Alberto Enaperi. Yeah, may we request everyone to join us for the photo op?
Maybe we can have photo together.
Yeah.
Two of us. Two of us.